Welcome to the newest circuit iRacing has to offer, and welcome back to ARL's GT3 Thursday Championship. This is round 5 at nowhere other than Qualcomm Circuit, better known as Naval Base Coronado. My name is Jack Mays, and joining me inside the booth, as has become customary, is none other than Mr. Jesse Lee. Jesse, I think we have a bit of a chaotic one ahead of us. New circuit, no idea how it's going to fare with 25-odd GT3 cars running around it. But one thing is for certain, it's going to be a really good time.
Yes, it sure is, Jack. Hello, and it's nice to be back here at ARL and in San Diego as well. Qualifying well underway here. Paul O'Malley, the quickest of anyone over Piotr Shabilski and Michael Hickman. More on the championship situation in a minute. Jack, we got to talk about this racetrack, so named Qualcomm Circuit, better known as the Coronado Street Circuit. We're live from the streets of the Naval Base, and what a racetrack it is. 3.4 miles around, 19 turns, just about 2 minutes to make it around this racetrack. Of course, not the first time race cars have raced at Naval Base Coronado. Did it back a decade ago, although that circuit was very much abbreviated, half the size of this behemoth. 19 turns, 3 different chicanes, blind corners, races like a street circuit on steroids. My goodness, it's going to be a fun night as these drivers try to get to grips with not only racing this newest circuit in iRacing, but also racing for championship cup points, and of course, trying to outfox each other out there on the racetrack.
It's going to be so interesting. I spoke briefly with a couple of drivers beforehand. Sort of was like, hey, what's it like? I had driven this circuit a little bit in a GR86 Cup car, bit different to the machinery where they're running around, and it was a similar story that I was expecting. Overtaking is not easy, nigh on impossible if you aren't in the most perfect position you could possibly be, and I have to say, we're definitely, this quality of driver, I think we're definitely going to see some wheel-to-wheel action tonight. But all that being said, qualifying is going to be extremely important. Think of it like Monaco qualifying, but you know what? Actually, we're just going to full stop. Monaco qualifying, welcome to Monaco, but in the West, and it's bigger because America, I only suppose.
Does seem a little bit like that. This place races kind of like a V8 supercar course, which is a point, Jack, that you made to me a while back, I'm pretty sure. And it really is like that. Some of these turns, you sort of take them on blind faith, and you have to just sort of know where you're going to come out, and you do that by feeling the final turn. The one that we just came through here with Sam Graff is certainly one of those. I'm quite familiar with the pit lane wall. It certainly, you don't forget that one when you hit it, and I think a lot of drivers are going to come through that particular corner too wide around here. It is going to be difficult to pass, but more than that, I think it's going to be difficult to get any sort of space. We already saw in this championship at other street circuits that these drivers are more than up to the task, and they're going to go for it and fight for every position, and they're not afraid to go too wide around a street course.
Not at all. 2 wide, 3 wide, 4 wide. If they can find space, they'll probably give it a go at least once. I'm anticipating a reasonable bit of attrition. And as you said, you're familiar with the pit lane wall. I'm actually very familiar with the water barrels that are at pit entry. First race I ever did, clipped those on my very first lap. Just wasn't really paying attention and thought I had more room than I did. And I didn't, and wheel gone, very car, very broken. Didn't end up being the prettiest situation. Hopefully, though, these are professionals. Surely they'll do better than I did on my first attempt, though. They've been practicing this circuit all week. I can only imagine, but qualifying has wrapped up in its entirety, and it is Paul O'Malley with margin on the pole by about a second. Piotr Shabilski will join them on the front row. Michael Hickman, a top 3, very used to seeing during the race, during qualifying and all that. Stefano Zanatti, stunner of a lap for the Pro-Am driver. Starting in 4th, Anne-Marie DePasquale in 5th. Ted Piper coming back for the first time in a little while in 6th. Bryce McClafferty 7th. Pole in the AM class. Sam Graff in 8th. Daniel White in 9th. And Daniel Kent in 9th. And Matt White in 10th. Galat 11th. Branham 12th. David Wiggins 13th. Bullman 14th. Javi Sanabria starts P15. Victor Mendez Polanco in 16th. Craig Searcy 17th. Scott Farrell 18th. Jacobs and Campos your 19th and 20th. Alexander, Schroush, Coffey, Ramsey, Johnson your 25 qualifiers, with Nick Dawson, Lathan, Cody May, Chris Anderson, and Aaron Henschel joining the grid, but not either getting a lap in or Jesse possibly electing to not put a lap on the circuit, though that may come back to bite them, I do think, especially for Nick Dawson, Lathan, pro driver, 26th on this grid. We'll see how it pans out for him, but I can't imagine that's going to be an easy night back there.
Well, the couple of reasons why you might start out near the back: Dawson, Lathan, May, Anderson, and Henschel all doing that, and either they didn't get a lap in without having some sort of contact with the wall. Really hard to disallow your lap here by way of anything other than cutting a chicane, of course, or slamming hard into a wall. I think the latter is more likely, of course. But yeah, if they elected to start out back, then they are betting on one thing and one thing only: absolute chaos. It's not necessarily turn 1 that's going to be the problem here at Naval Base Coronado. It's going to be turn 2. Turn 1 is this dog leg to the right, and you can mostly take that flat out. Turn 2, though, is a 90 left up Rogers Road before we get to a even more acute angle, turn 3 down 2nd Street. The pinch point is going to be turn 2, and at the end of the lap, coming through the chicane and through 16, where we come down the pit straight, that's also going to be an issue. But hopefully everyone gets it sorted out by the time they get there. If you want to compare it to anything, maybe it's a little like turns 1 and 2 at Azerbaijan. Maybe just a little bit if you wanted to list it as anything. Look at these wonderful shots of the naval bases here, and I do believe those are Osprey we have in the foreground, and in the background, not entirely sure what variant of the C-130 that is, but very beautiful nonetheless, and such a weird sight racing at a naval base. But as I said in the intro, not the first time there has been racing here. It is the first time that in this capacity, but about a decade ago, there were trophy trucks, and the Mazda Miata Cup Series actually raced on an abbreviated circuit at this very base back then, and probably inspired NASCAR and other series to come here in the first place. But getting ready to see GT action here for the first time in ARL. I'm excited to get going, Jack.
I'm absolutely ecstatic. I'm ready to try to keep up with the action we are about to see on screen, because I think it's going to be anything but serene. The pace car is now pulled in, leaving it up to Paul O'Malley for when he wants to start this race. He's going to hit the go pedal right as he comes out of the third corner. A whole thunderous chorus of race cars getting underway, and I feel like there's a few less than we're used to seeing, but they're popping into view at the back of shot. We start with 29. Let's see how many we end with. Into turn number 2. Paul O'Malley's going to do it in the background. A big spin, a purple Porsche. I think Benjamin Galat's around, but I believe somebody else might have lost it as well. But for the Dadman GT, he's going to say, cool, job number 1 done. I made it through the first couple of corners with a little bit of room to spare, but it seems like Jesse Lee in the backfield in the mid-pack, it is absolutely brawl at the start.
Different manufacturers leads to different strengths and weaknesses, and that's what you're seeing here. Also, some drivers probably a little bit more tentative than others here on the opening lap as they maintain side by side as we go through Carrier Corner and beyond that into the Coronado chicane. This is very close racing, still side by side. We saw this in real life, and of course, the sim echoing that just a little bit. You can get stuck side by side here racing, and we've seen that, but luckily enough for Paul O'Malley, who's trying to close up a little bit of a gap in this championship, it's all going to plan here early over Piotr Shabilski, Michael Hickman, Stefano Zanatti, and Anne-Marie Di Pasquale, your top five. But look at this, 3 wide in the back of the pack.
Yeah, Coronado chicane turning into a little bit of a parking lot there. You can see there's a damaged Porsche on the outside. I think that might be Devin Strauss, but I wanted to stay with Nick Dawson-Lates and see what kind of moves and shakes he can make, and he's already up a handful of positions in the first half of lap 1 and making the best of a bad situation around the outside of Scott Farrell into turn number 12 and making it look pretty good there. Sorry, that was turn 10 that he was making around the outside. I will say, usually, viewers would note, we do have a track map available, but tonight, as this is such a new circuit, I do not have it, so I apologize. You're going to be working with us, figuring out exactly where we are on track, because we were talking about Azerbaijan, and I feel like this has a little bit of street circuits to it, but I think it's got a little bit of a Lusail flavor to it by nature. Oh, there's a Porsche facing the wrong direction. I think immediate tow back to pit lane. But it's got a Qatar flavor to it because every corner looks the same, and we don't even know where we are half the time.
That was Nathan Branham who had that issue. They have returned to pit lane, and look at this, thinking about 3 wide down into turn number 2 and up Rogers Road into turn 3 as they get it settled for at least 2 by 2 in the background. Scott Farrell and Neil Alexander racing each other, and now I believe Devin Strauss racing them. And in the foreground here, a couple of cars continuing on. I believe one of them involved in the early incident, recovering decently as well. Hey, we know this guy, Ted Piper, fighting for a spot inside the top 6, trying to hold off Sam Graff for that position early on. A little bit of a train foreman behind Ted Piper, Sam Graff, Bryce McClafferty. That's very important for the AM class battle. He's got Matt White behind him.
Just seems to be, this is the beginning of the story of the night. I almost feel it's going to be, all right, you're in the position, you got your single file. Now your job is do not make a mistake. There's no runoff. There's no, oh, this guy went deep and he's in the gravel and maybe I can sneak by him really quickly. Everything is going to have to be fought for. Every single overtake, if you want it, you are going to have to grab it with both hands. It's just nothing is going to be given easy here tonight. Out in front, though, Paul O'Malley making it as easy as it could possibly be for himself and Piotr Shabilski. They've dove about 2 seconds away from the nearest competitor, and Michael Hickman finding himself in a little bit of no man's land already. Thing that comes to mind for me, Jesse, as this race goes on, we saw it a bit at Laguna Seca, was indeed. We're going to see a couple of those, I fear. But these cars reasonably tough. They can take a lick and keep on ticking. But the thing that we saw at Laguna Seca was the having to work around lapped traffic. This isn't a short circuit by any means, but as things play out, as drivers start to make mistakes, they might find themselves on the wrong parts of the track, and the leaders, everyone, are going to have to work together to make their way around each other. And I think that's just going to bring a super great element into this race once that all begins.
Talking about trying to work around each other, Sam Graff trying to find the way around Ted Piper, unable to do it, just about ran out of room right there. Getting a little bit froggy is Bryce McClafferty behind as they lose Matt White just a little bit, and that will be to the AM Championship leaders' benefit. We talked about Pro and Paul O'Malley needing this to get back into the championship conversation in Pro. We've talked about Bryce McClafferty just now leading the AM Championship. Let's talk about Stefano Zanatti in Pro-Am, another driver having a great run leading their class. They certainly could use this for championship springboard opportunity here. They're not leading their class, but looking good early on. One spot out of the overall podium, but they've got Anne-Marie Di Pasquale breathing down their neck in that Pro Ford. So yes, they'd lose a position overall, but realistically, they would lose absolutely nothing if Anne-Marie decided to make a move. I would imagine Stefano Zanatti wouldn't fight too hard. So this is the difference between the NASCAR races that we saw here in real life versus this race. These are GT cars, of course, but there's 3 different classes, as you can tell, and they're all in their own race. Yes, they're all equal machinery, but sometimes you don't actually gain anything from racing somebody not in your class.
It's just going to be, it's something that I've begun to talk to drivers about post-race. Every single time it's sort of been like, hey, you know, where was your head at fighting this guy in another? I think that's Rodney Ramsey, who's missed the 3rd and final chicane and gone a bit out of sorts, lost a few positions as a result. And it seems that occasionally, Jesse, the timing screen and the timing overall seems to get a bit crazy on us. So that might be a new feature of the night. Sam Graff heading by Bryce McClafferty, but ending up the wrong way at the exit of the corner. That's going to slow down dangerous. The AMG. Oh, that's really, really sketchy place to be on the circuit. Everybody making their way by. There's a missing front bumper. I don't know what car that was from, but it looks like an easy pass. I was about to say that maybe McClafferty letting Graff through, thinking, oh, this isn't my fight. Well, it certainly became everybody's fight for a moment, having to avoid the wrongly positioned Porsche.
Sam Graff is still sitting there. He's just now getting it sorted out, I think. That was a scary moment, and well done. Yeah, he's still sitting there. We're on board with Sam Graff now, doing a 5-point turn to get that car going in the right direction. And credit to everybody else in a tight blind corner part of the racetrack where you're absolutely flying through that section, is able to miss him. I don't think anyone else really had contact. There was a McLaren that arrived quite early to the scene, but I don't think they actually made contact. They did stop, but they were able to get away. And another incident here with Matt White, also backwards, but maybe potentially in a better position to get the car righted and out of harm's way, but the damage done to the front end of that AMG.
So we were wondering, because I think it might have been Matt White that was first to arrive at that incident, possibly. I did see a front bumper, but this AMG is missing both front and rear. Looks like coming out of the run between turn 11 and turn 12. That's when he was facing the wrong direction, and I, for a moment, thought that Paul O'Malley, checking into the wall again, was facing the wrong way, but it seems like the end of laps, the timing goes a bit crazy. So I will maybe rest and relax a little bit, be good for my blood pressure, Jesse, but open up the gap has O'Malley at the very least on Piotr Shabilski, but this is going to be a race about not making mistakes and consistency, as many races come down to, but this one especially. We've seen a couple of moves happening just now. Devin Strauss getting ahead of Nathan Branham. So more than I was expecting in the opening in terms of just clean passes, about the right amount that I was expecting as far as chaos, but everyone doing their greatest to finish this race, or indeed to get your sort of foot in the door. 10 minutes in, 50 minutes to go. There is going to be no relaxing here tonight. Everybody's going to be absolutely on edge for the entirety of this race.
Yeah, it really is. There's no place to hide at a racetrack like this, and there's no place to sort of take a little bit of a break. This is a track that's in your face, that requires your utmost attention all of the time. Otherwise, it will bite back. There's no safer walls here. There's barely any tire packs. It's just concrete retaining walls, and they are as unforgiving as they've ever been, and you got to pay attention to that. And I think part of the reason Piotr Shabilski has fallen back to where he is, we saw him earlier get into the wall off of turn 2, and ever since then he's been losing even more time. He was within a second still prior to that. So maybe, even if it didn't damage the car that much, maybe it was sort of a wake-up call to sort of drive a little bit more defensively than offensively, though I will say that gap has stabilized at about 2 seconds. And that's another thing we haven't talked about. Number one, the weather. Well, it's San Diego. It's going to be cloudy for a while, and then it's going to be sunny for a while. The only thing we can tell you in certainty, no threat of rain here at Naval Base Coronado this evening, but there will be sort of mostly cloudy skies with the occasional peak of sunshine, which we've already seen out there on the track this evening, which leads us into my favorite topic of conversation, tire degradation. We don't really know. We have no notes on it. I have some stock car notes on tire degradation, but not GT notes. And I think a lot of these drivers are going to be learning exactly how hard you can push these tires today too.
I can't say just by thinking about the circuit, knowing what I know about it, whether it's sort of going to be a high degradation circuit. There's not a whole lot of high-speed corners. There's a couple, but it's mostly mid-speed and low speed, and it's, I could imagine, a fairly abrasive surface, as it is just sort of the concrete squares of that makes up this naval base and thus this racetrack. But I would imagine everybody would be fine. Maybe start to get a little bit squirrely towards the end of the race, but that also is something worth thinking about as a driver. Say, hey, I'm starting to feel like I'm starting to get loose maybe in the end of your sort of your first stint, and maybe thinking, let's just put tires on just to be safe. Maybe put on a set of rear tires. Imagine those might be taking a fair amount of punishment. I have to say, Nick Dawson-Lathan, we've just been chatting, and he's been plugging away into the top 10 with the Honda NSX. Absolutely stellar work.
It's just showing off in the Acura is what Nick Dawson-Lathan's doing. Maybe well, just as we say that, commentator's curse into the wall. But, you know, I think that was on purpose. They started from the back. They have avoided the incidents. There have been more than a couple that they've had to drive through surely at this point. And another touch on the wall there. You got to be careful with that Acura. It's not made out of lead. Of course, it's going to wear down as more cars come into the pit lane. Aaron Henschel and Wyatt Johnson have come in quite early. They towed, in fact, and now I see Wyatt Johnson is towing again after a following incident. Matt White and Sam Graff had come in as well after their incidents. Cody May has been in the pit lane, and we just saw Devin Strauss in the pit lane as well. Early pit stops happening here. A lot of those due to incident, but I do wonder if Devin Strauss's is more pit strat related than anything else. Stefano Zanatti continues to lead. Amory Di Pasquale for fourth place. Now that's a Pro-Am car leading a Pro car. As I said earlier, even if Amory does get by Stefano, it doesn't hurt Stefano any. It just helps Amory stay a little bit closer to the top three. And speaking of, Piotr Shabilski in from P3, or P2 rather.
I was sort of wondering if that might happen, because he was losing so much time to Paul O'Malley lap over lap, and I thought maybe that there's something wrong with his car. And here's my thought. He's got long enough into the race that perhaps he can make it on fuel. He's doing his stop now. He's going to fix whatever he needs to fix. Maybe a new set of tires, but I doubt it. It seems like an early call to do that and take all the fuel he can. 75% max fuel capacity is what these cars are allowed in this championship. So he's going to take that and he's going to do whatever he needs to do, be it a little bit of fuel saving, or frankly, these cars might be able to do 45 minutes easily with that amount of fuel and do the race from there. He's sort of tried this undercut before. Did it at Laguna Seca, didn't entirely work. Tried it again at Road America, got caught out with the rain. He came in about 2-3 laps before the rain started to come down, so of course he had to go in and take tires. And we're going to try it again today, though I think it was a damage limitation rather than a strategy call. We did see him hit the wall earlier on, and his pace was not great. It was far better than a lot of the field, but it wasn't good enough to keep up with Paul O'Malley. And knowing Shabilski, Jesse, you're probably thinking the same thing. He's not going to sit and be like, maybe I could recover and stay in 5th or 6th by the end of this race with this damage. No, he's going to go for the big swing. He's going to go try to win this race.
Yeah, I mean, whenever you're that close, if you're Piotr Shabilski, you kind of have to swing for the fences. In third place in the championship, you got to ride the horse that got you here, and being aggressive and being just good everywhere helps that, of course. But Shabilski's third in the championship, 2 points ahead of Paul O'Malley, who's in fourth, and he knows he's going to lose third, or at least whatever position it would be, he's going to be behind Paul O'Malley if he continues to be a follower. You can either be a follower and take whatever you're going to get, or you can be aggressive, try something different, and maybe come out on top. And that's exactly what Shabilski's doing. And, you know, I like to see it. And it's certainly mixed up this race just a little bit. Jack, what do you say we take an onboard lap around Naval Base Coronado?
I think we shall. And, well, we're with Javi Sanabria chasing down Victor Mendez Polanco, and I'll say we'll stay with him. We didn't get a chance to do it in qualifying, so why not do it in the race? That was turns 1 and 2. We're on Rogers Road now, down towards what's almost certainly got to be the coolest corner on this racetrack. That's coming up. You could just see it looming in the distance. I'm getting too ahead of myself. Through turn 4, now down Murray Avenue. We saw it looming a moment ago, and now we're into Carrier Corner. You can't really see a whole lot of it through Carrier Corner, which I think is kind of a missed opportunity. I don't know, but that's what it's named. This is the longest, well, straight, even though it's not quite straight. It's about the longest you could go full throttle on this circuit into turn 6 and turn 7. It gets so perilously narrow here. You can barely fit two cars and barely have time to catch a bit of a slide. Then you enter into the Coronado chicane, turn 8 and turn 9. I don't know why. Turn 8 reminds me a lot of turn 1 at Sebring, even though it's just not the same corner at all. That's what it reminded me of. Into the section I like to call, well, this is 10 and 11. Nice, quick, wonderful, beautiful. This is the section I like to call the death chicane. Because why put a chicane there that seems entirely unnecessary? Because you immediately fly into turn 12. It's a short shoot. And believe me, I've been in some attempts of overtakes there and tried to make a move, have moves made on me. It's not fun, it's scary, it's terrifying, and very few times where people make it out alive into turns 14 and 15, ending the lap. One final chicane to make it done, and then through 16 here for a moderately successful, as far as Javi Sanabria, because he made it around the other side, lap of Naval Base Coronado. I would say commentated in a irreparably terrible fashion by myself, but I don't know. It's a new circuit. It's probably fine, right?
You give yourself too little credit. Well commentated and illustrated there. We thank Sanabria for allowing us to ride along with him. And if there's one thing Javi and Victor too have taught me with that, is that neither one were pushing the absolute limits. Even though they're racing each other hard, they were not pushing the limits of the racetrack because they know the concrete confines will bite them back if they do. These two are fighting quite hard. Nick Dawson, Lathan, why not put him up another spot in the Acura, up to P8 over Robert Molman. That Acura started in the back of the pack. We will remind you time and time again. And when we say in the back, we don't mean they started 20th or 25th. They started 27th or so in this race. Outside the top 25, up inside the top 10. Do we think he can win it all? I don't think so. But man, he might. If he keeps this pace up, Jack, podium maybe.
I feel like podium maybe, but it's just unbelievable pace. You so rarely see the Acura NSX in competition, and I think that's a bit of a shame. It's not the most performant car, but my goodness, it's going well here today. I put a lot of that down to the driver in the box. Anyone who is willing to take a chance and start from the back of the grid at Naval Base Coronado, honestly, any circuit, hats off to you. I sit at your feet because I'm not brave enough to do that. I do want to see one thing. I'm going to stay with Nick Dawson-Lathan here. I've seen it a couple of times. I want to see if the NSX will do it. As they crest the hill here, doesn't quite get some air, but the Porsche behind does get a little bit of air The
Yeah.
front
You
nose.
can tell where the engine is in that Porsche, can't you?
Yeah, you can. And I saw a Corvette earlier get a little bit higher than that. And that is, well, I can't imagine that's an entirely comfortable feeling from the driver's seat to be in that position. Nor can I imagine it's a comfortable feeling when Piotr Shabilski's behind, and that's not how he wanted that to go. If damage limitation was his plan, he's probably just damaged the car a little bit more. But it's going to be a long road. But at the very least, I didn't say this when we initially pitted in, but we get to see basically the repeat, probably, of not Dawson Lathan's run through the field, because Shabilski, we know, is fast. Hopefully, his car is all still sort of working, though we'll see that in a moment. But he's going to have a run up the field himself. Pit stops are going to put him higher than he is currently, but for the remainder, he's going to have to fight tooth and nail to end up in a good position come the checkered flag.
Yeah, this is the problem with doing that early pit stop is you put yourself back into traffic talking about Piotr Shabilski, and now you're sort of seeing that was just a sort of a mistake around other cars that he's clearly has more pace than right now, but still, you know, they're not going to turn invisible, and they're certainly not just going to lay over. They have their own race, and they're in the middle of a heated battle themselves, and you just sort of get a little bit offline here at Naval Base Coronado, and that's exactly what happens into the wall. That was not insignificant contact to Shabilski's Ford Mustang as well, but we've seen him hold it together after one of those knocks. The question becomes, though, how many more can you afford before, well, you know, the wheels come off, either proverbially or literally in this case. Hopefully can keep those incidents to a minimum.
Ideally, you want to keep it out of the wall. You really don't want to do that too many more times. Benjamin Galat peeling into pit lane, maybe feeling a little bit of pressure, but probably thinking now's the right time to come down pit road. One less car for Shabilski to get by, because, well, granted, last time he ended up rushing that wall at the exit of turn 1. A lot of Mustangs in the field, and I feel like that's something we've remarked on time and time again. And yes, it may be the fastest car in iRacing, but it is down to the driver in the box, because nothing about what any of these guys are doing is easy. And that looked about as easy as it'll get from Piotr. Better that time than the last few more seconds up the road to find himself elsewhere. Take a bow. Stefano Zanatti puts in a really good qualifying lap and is now finding himself, for the moment, on the podium and holding off an absolute titan of this championship, Anne-Marie Di Pasquale, in a class higher than you, is a Red Bull Racing esports driver, and you are currently showing them up around the streets of a naval base. That's just awesome.
Yeah, as it stands right now, if my rudimentary math can be trusted, it can't, but just go with me here. I have been doing the math, as you might expect. Stefano Zanatti would leave here with the Pro-Am Championship lead. There's only a handful of points in it between Johnson, Gallant, and himself to begin with. So a win here would be absolutely mega in the Pro-Am Championship, especially with Ted Piper in second in that category, and Daniel Kent third, Robert Molman. So it's really set up for Stefano Zanatti to take control in this championship. That camera angle is a little deceiving. You can run out that corner a little bit, but sometimes when they take all of the available real estate, it looks like they're going to make it to the wall, but they always just seem to pull it out in the dying embers. But excellent run here from Zanatti, like you said. Top 3 overall, but more importantly, big picture for him, could be looking at a championship lead here tonight.
That's what you want to see at the end of a day. You feel like, oh, that was a good race. Not only that, I get to end up with a haul of points and a run towards a championship. But you're right, turn 4, it is deceptive from that camera angle. And as a corner itself, you maybe can see it, but there is a huge bump on that corner. I don't know how much you can feel it in a GT3 car. I would imagine quite a bit, but it can definitely take you out of it a bit. And if you don't have the right line, you don't take your foot off the throttle a little bit, you can find yourself going around as it's, you know, we're gonna go back. I'm gonna go back to that street circuit conversation, as this is a street circuit. You say there's elements of Azerbaijan, Baku. I completely agree. Turn 2, turn 3, outside of the elevation, basically exactly what you'd see turn 1 and 2 at that circuit. I think it's got elements of Sebring. This corner right now, turn number 8, reminds me of Sebring. Also, it's bumpy, so basically Sebring as far as I'm concerned. And I think there's some elements of Long Beach in the nature of some of these sort of not quite 90 degree but 90 degree corners. I feel like turn 6 kind of reminds me of Long Beach a little bit, maybe turn 13 the same way. You tell me, Jesse, what other elements maybe do you sort of feel? I'm not saying this racetrack is derivative, it's fairly unique, and that was a fairly unique pass there from Scott Farrell. That was excellently done. Didn't really see that one coming, but me, oh my, that was excellent.
Eric Jacobs is just sort of stun locked there for a second, and well, they should be. Just completely out of nowhere, Scott Farrell coming through. Opportunity and space afforded, and through went Scott Farrell, and Eric Jacobs. Took them a second to fully get back on the gas and figure out what just happened. They got stunned in that corner, and that's one of the interesting things about this particular street circuit is there are a lot of passing opportunities, especially if a car in front of you makes even a minute mistake. It can absolutely open the door for you and everybody else. And it's sort of a rhythm-based racetrack, and it's also a muscle memory type of racetrack as well. Some parts of it quite wide, some parts kind of very tight, like some of the Azerbaijan sections I mentioned. Talk about V8 supercars. Got a little Gold Coast in there a little bit as well, with some of the tighter but faster sections as well. It's a whole thing. I mean, it's an interesting racetrack because it can put you in the mind of so many other courses. You brought up Sebring. I had never thought about that, but some of the bumps, especially in this section, kind of remind you of that. And that huge sort of jump after start finish line as well. A lot of cars get completely off the ground in that section as well, reminiscent of a couple of older race circuits as well. It's this track really does have a little bit of everything.
Does. I do think there's a bit of old school flavor here. Something about it, the way that it's set up, it's sort of the there aren't really lines telling you where to go. There's more just concrete walls steering you in the correct direction. And that to me is primo old school, primo street circuit. And there being an Arby's bridge, I mean, I forgot that was even there until I just noticed it again just now. I mean, that is peak circuit. I don't know, is this the most like peak Murica, and I'm sort of doing air quotes there, peak Murica circuit? Is there a more American circuit than this? Fighter jets, tanks, aircraft carrier, Arby's. I mean,
we're absent. It's weird. There's no Walmart banners anywhere, but other than that, it is sort of peak America. Aircraft carriers, all sorts of helicopters and fighter jets, and it's I mean, we're in San Diego as well. You see the aircraft carrier in the background. It's just such an interesting place here in San Diego to have a race. And it's when they announced this place a year ago, I didn't know what to think, but I will say, watching the races this year that NASCAR put on actually sort of made me a believer. They had 2 or 3 races here for the top 3 NASCAR divisions, and every single one of them was a banger in its own way. And we're seeing that here with ARL the same kind of thing. We got that ARL quality. We've got some really good battles going on and a lot of quality racing happening out there, you have to say as well, which is what we've come to expect. If these drivers can take on, tackle, and conquer Long Beach, well, certainly Naval Base Coronado poses very little threat.
I think absolutely. I believe that was Matt White. Oh, actually, that's Cody May on the exit of turn number 8. One of the few corners where there's quite a bit of runoff, so I think he actually ended up sort of all right, but Matt White was staying out of the way on the run between turns 7 and 8, just letting everybody go through, and I think that's sort of what has to happen. It's not a circuit where you just sort of like, I'll just stay on the racing line and go a bit slow, or maybe sort of step out of the way a little bit, but still continue at race speed, and they'll make their way around me. No, I think this is a pullover. Blue flags are out. Maybe stop the car, have a snack, and then once everybody's through, you can continue on. Heads up from him to do that there. And you could say from Cody May, he knew we were watching. He knew that he needed to get out of the way, so he pulled a little Tokyo Drift opposite lock, maybe possibly. It looked good.
We are on the other side of the Pacific after all. While we have this moment, the pit cycle continuing, just want to thank our sponsors that make this race and every race possible. VPG Sim Wheels, Security Solutions, NW, SimGrid, Coach Dave Delta, and Crosby Stores, New York. Thank you so much for sponsoring ARL and letting us put on great races like this. Paul O'Malley continues to lead Michael Hickman. Stefano Zanatti up into third, still holding up Ambry Di Pasquale, who has not given them any respite this entire race. Bryce McClafferty, the top AM driver, slots into 5th place. A couple of drivers, 3 drivers, in fact, that all needed pretty decent runs to hang around in the championship conversation, and all 3 of them getting it done. Talking about O'Malley, Zanatti, and Bryce McClafferty. And it's been an interesting race thus far. A couple of incidents, single car incidents, a couple of multi-car incidents, and some pit stops left to give. Do mind, Michael Hickman was running 3rd prior to the pit stop of Piotr Shabilski, and we're still awaiting the top 9 coming into the pit lane as Rigo Campos thunders under us down the pit lane in his AM Ferrari. But still waiting on the top 9 to come in. 26.5 minutes left. When do you reckon they'll come in, Jack? Last second?
I think if you're O'Malley, if you're Hickman, if you're Zanatti, if you're Di Pasquale, I'd say maybe run it out as long as you can. I know for sure the top 2 are going to run it until their cars are out of fuel. I mean, we just saw Paul O'Malley lapping his way up past I think that was the driver in 15th, maybe even 14th. He was going past Sam Graff, and those all have stopped. So he could be finding himself in enough traffic where he feels like, maybe I should stop now. But I think at this stage in the race, you're not going to find a clean bit of circuit. So I think run it until you run out of fuel. Maybe if you're Anne-Marie, do something a little bit different. Maybe if you're Bryce McClafferty, same thing. Try to pit yourself into a better position. I think, though, the traffic's played havoc a little bit on Anne-Marie's race there, because just a moment ago, she was right on the back of Stefano Zanatti, where she's been for majority of this race. It is now 2 seconds back with Bryce McClafferty nipping at the heels. It's not something you can plan for. It's not something you can practice. It's just sort of something that happens. As it turns out, the McLaren now gets the award for most amount of air caught after turn 1. I think that was all 4 tires that just saw off the ground.
That is absolutely incredible, and it's not easy you got to hit it pretty square when you land, because if you don't, it can throw the car completely out of balance if you land 1 tire versus, landing completely flat. So you got to be careful with that. Not always a problem, but certainly the bigger air you get, the worse it can become. 19.5 seconds for Paul O'Malley out in front of Michael Hickman. Zanatti now finally with a little breathing room back to Anne-Marie Di Pasquale. Bryce McClafferty now on the back of Anne-Marie for 4th place. That's going to be interesting to see what Bryce may elect or may not elect to do, especially with Ted Piper kind of breathing down the neck ever so slightly if I would say one thing about the Pro-Am battles, Donati's done a really good job leading the class, but they've not got away from Ted Piper, who maybe, if anything, has been closing in on the Pro-Am Ferrari leader.
I think a little bit. I think traffic's had something to do with that. Maybe a little bit of clean air pace from Piper's led him good, but I think he's getting a mixture of lucky and doing a really good job here. Porsche there, I think that was Nathan Brannon in 21st getting cleared out. It's a tricky piece of circuit to let people by. Sort of have to step out of the way, but there's high-speed corners, so you don't want to get off the racing line and then get in the way later. It requires a unique bit of heads-up driving, and I think everybody's done well so far. You can see pretty much every couple of corners, stepping out of the way, letting them come through, sliding in behind, and then getting ready to let the next guy through. So, well done by the group. It's changing up the complexion of this race a little bit in this field, bringing them together, pulling them apart. It's different every single lap, but I think Dawson Lathan, Daniel Kent in pit lane now. Dawson Lathan got up to 7th position before he had to go down pit road. I dare say, Jesse Lee, we alluded to it earlier, I feel like there might be a bit more in him. He might reach top 5. I think maybe the podium's looking a little far at this stage, but he's poised to have an incredible run up the field.
Yeah, I think even if you only get to the top 5, which I think is absolutely achievable for Dawson Lathan, I think you got to feel like you've accomplished something special. I don't think anyone would have come to this road course, this street course, and thought that you could have gained 20-plus positions on the road on merit. But that is exactly what the Acura driver, the number 100, is threatening to do. A little bit of housekeeping. Earlier on, Aaron Henschel is, they did become the only DNF of the race. That was some 20 minutes ago. Everybody else that's had a spot of drama has continued on. Last lap, though, Scott Farrell in the 134 McLaren in the AM class has had some sort of incident, and they towed immediately to the pit lane. Unknown exactly what occurred there, but you can kind of make your mind up. It was likely a trip to the wall, most certainly backwards at the end of it, and that car has towed. And now Cody May has also towed, I'm assuming, in quite a similar fashion. Alluded to this off the rear end of Anne-Marie Di Pasquale's Ford Mustang. Looking at Bryce McClafferty, this is Pro versus Am, but Bryce will very much not want to be held up here and give any time back to Craig Searcy, who's in 8th place. But still, these two racing each other for overall position. That doesn't mean very much until sort of you get the driver red mist descending, the blinders go on, and then it becomes everything. Well, the only thing better than 5th place is 4th place.
I mean, that's just basic math there. Everybody understands that.
I'm just doing math. The math is mathing.
For once, Jesse Lee, your math is in fact mathing.
You hear that, Mom?
I'll send her a text. She's I think she's been waiting to hear it. Never mind. Anyways, but I have to say, looking at the rear, or looking off the rear of that Mustang at the very end of the lap, the McLaren looked really, really good in the high-speed stuff at the end of that lap. Far better than maybe the Mustang. Mustang, of course, a lot of grunt in a straight line. Maybe we're learning that it's not quite set up for the high-speed stuff. I mean, imagine a lot of drivers using setup shops and the like, and maybe doing some homegrown setup work as well. It can't be easy. Brand new circuit. It's not one that anybody knows anything about, because it's just like, new circuit comes to a sim. Wonderful. What did people do in real life? What are they sort of, how do you set up a car in real life on this circuit? Well, this has never happened before, so good luck figuring it out. Seems like everybody's done a fairly good job. That does just seem like, yet again, the McLaren better around the tail end of the circuit, and maybe on the front stretch, the Mustang has the edge. One of those beautiful things about manufacturer battles, and one of the things I love about GT Motorsport, you get all the different manufacturers, and everybody's got to figure out, where do I have the edge? How can I take advantage of this? Where can I make this work best to my advantage? And it's a bit of a stalemate at the moment out here, but kind of gotten used to seeing that so far tonight. Jesse, after we've sort of watched these cars circulate for a while, I've determined my favorite corner on this racetrack. Have you determined yours?
Yeah, I actually have, and it might surprise you. You go first.
Okay, so my corner isn't actually a corner. It's the hill after turn one for everybody. Everybody gets to go whee and start flying.
Okay. So it's the jump on towway.
It's the jump on towway.
All right, my favorite corner is just about coming up. We're gonna go down Runway Road, and there's a camera angle that I'm quite fond of. I don't know if we're gonna get it this time through, but it's just it's quite lovely. Here we're gonna find out if it does it. Round this corner. No, it hasn't done it, but some angles around some of these corners look even better than you otherwise might expect. And turn 13 is my favorite, simply because of where the camera's set up. It looks really cool as they come through there. I think is my favorite corner. My least favorite corner is, well, it's the final turn, because I've hit the pit wall on a number of occasions in stock car racing cars, because they're a little bit heavier than these cars, and they don't turn quite as good, and you can really smack yourself into the wall. Off of the racetrack is Anne-Marie Di Pasquale through the final chicane, and they're all going to come into pit lane, but that did allow Bryce McClafferty to jump Anne-Marie into the pit lane. Ted Piper follows in, as well as everybody's in, including Paul O'Malley, Michael Hickman, and Stefano Zanotti.
Everybody's in that lap. They all ran to exactly the same amount of fuel they managed to do, and what an unfortunate place to make that mistake for Anne-Marie, because, you know, you make a mistake like that, right, you can maybe start to claw it back, but now you have to sit in pit lane and think about it. You have to stare at the cars that just overtook you, and you just have to wait and get them back, and you know, maybe your pit stop's a little bit longer, and maybe it's a little bit shorter, but you're sort of leaving yourself vulnerable to losing a couple more positions rather than just the one or two that were lost initially. As they go peeling out of pit lane, should be in just a moment, we'll start to see. And wow, Bryce McClafferty actually has managed to jump Stefano Zanotti in pit lane, so made the maneuver on Anne-Marie, and by some imagination has managed to jump the Pro-Am leader in class. Ted Piper sent me a message earlier on, was sort of talking about stories coming into the race, letting me know things as we're getting going, and he was saying that maybe perhaps Bryce McClafferty should be moved up to the Pro-Am class, and if Bryce didn't want that to happen, this is probably not what he should be doing.
Yeah, well, as we race by the USS Carl Vinson this time, I was noticing a couple of things. Michael Hickman clearly out in front of Piotr Shabilski. Remember, Shabilski pitted early, which is fine, except they were stuck in traffic and they've lost time. So Michael Hickman is now out in front of Piotr Shabilski on merit and pace after everyone has taken their pit stop. And as you pointed out, partner, Bryce McClafferty up into fourth place after getting by Anne-Marie Di Pasquale when she missed the chicane, and now by Zanotti as well. So Bryce in the AM class up to fourth place. A little fortuitous, admittedly, but also absolutely earned by just having excellent pace, an excellent stop, and keeping it going in the right direction, of course. So now Stefano Zanotti down to fifth place with Ted Piper right behind him. The fight for Pro-Am win and supremacy is on here in the final 15.
Jesse, I got bad news. Our fearless NSX is no longer. I actually don't even know if he's racing in this event any longer. Piotr Shabilski's actually just come down pit lane as well. It says the Acura is, wow, that was very wild from the McLaren. But you said you got to land that square. That wasn't quite square. But I was going to say, Nick Dawson-Lathan, I was looking down the board to see where he was, and it currently shows him in pit lane. But when I tried to see where exactly in pit lane he was, I didn't see him, and now it's updated on the screen. It's a retirement from the 100 car, an absolute stellar run through the field, but couldn't quite make it all the way to the checkered flag.
Well, that's going to put a damper on what was shaping up to be quite an impressive run and party for Nick Dawson-Lathan. And the question will become, what will that do for his championship standings as well? It was shaping up to be really good, but for the Acura, the lone Acura in the field, it is going to end prematurely, down to 25th now, will likely continue to fall just a little bit. Out front, Paul O'Malley, Michael Hickman, the top two overall and in pro, separated by 20 seconds as Paul O'Malley is showing everyone the way around Naval Base Coronado here in San Diego. Bryce McClafferty leads in AM and his third place overall. Zanotti and Ted Piper are going to fight it out for the win in Pro-Am, it seems. Ford versus Ferrari. I feel like I've seen this a couple of times throughout history.
Oh, but now we get to get it at a naval base. I feel like the Freedom Machine Mustang should have a little bit of advantage here, but it seems the advantage has been all race long Stefano Zanotti, but as the race has progressed, chipping away has Ted Piper done, and he's all over the back for the first time, but catching one thing, overtaking an entirely different can of fish. So we'll see how this plays out in the final 12 minutes. And I have to admit, I am deeply, deeply impressed by this field because we've had close to 50 minutes of racing, and I think we've only lost 3 race cars, possibly 4. It says Cody Mays being towed, but I think that would mean he's still in this race to some degree. We've only lost 3 of 29 drivers around a circuit that I certainly can't drive to any degree. So incredibly impressive from this crew. And week after week, Jesse, we give them props. We say nice things about them. And as the fable goes, the commentators curse. Surely they're going to, prove us wrong at some point. But no, time after time, they continue to amaze us.
It certainly is the case, and I would have definitely expected higher attrition. I would have expected maybe 5, 6 DNFs at this point. We just haven't quite got that. A couple of incidents have led to several cars towing, but beyond that, still, like you said, the 3 DNFs that we know about, Cody May in the pit lane towing, I believe, a second time tonight in the number 7 Chevrolet Corvette, but not out of the race. Just to keep you updated on some late pit stops, Javi Sanabria has just made an additional pit stop, as has Piotr Shabilski, the number 90, who was second place, you'll recall, earlier in the race, has now made a second pit stop. They're down in 7th place, sort of in no man's land right now. So that's where Piotr has gone. As we continue to watch the fight between Stefano Zanotti, we ride on board Ted Piper's Mustang there for a moment as these two continue to play cat and mouse around the naval base. And, what else could you expect? Ted Piper was never going to be satisfied with being 3rd or 4th in class. It was always going to end up like this. Can Piper do it again?
We'll have to see. He's running out of laps, maybe 5 to go, possibly even 4, and there's lots of opportunities, but you need to be in the perfect position to take advantage of them. But his last couple laps maybe slipping away just a little bit. This one especially, Ted Piper actually slipping back into the clutches of Anne-Marie Di Pasquale, who spent the entirety of this race following a different Pro-Am driver and is now relegated to the same task. Other news for ARL recently announced, a part of the new partnership between America's Racing League and Simu Nation. The 6 Hours of Road America has been announced. It will be August 22nd. Registrations are live on SimGrid. Get a team together, figure out what you're driving and who you're driving with, and come join the action. That race will be broadcast by High Point Racing, so plenty to see. If you're not driving, check in with the drivers, cheer on your favorite team in chat, and say nice things about me. Even though I won't be there, just say nice things about me. Tell them how great I am, and also how still great but slightly less great is Jesse Lee.
Fair, real, and true. Stefano Zanotti continuing to lead Ted Piper for the lead in Pro-Am, 4th overall. But we look at the championship. Of course, Ted Piper hasn't been here for 2 weeks. Him and me have something in common. We haven't been here for 2 weeks, but he won his last time out for round number 2. So he's looking to continue their winning ways. And if you haven't seen this man, that's because he's been so far out in front of the field. The Dadman GT Ford Mustang has been in clear control in a day that really he needed to assert himself to stay in the championship conversation. He has done exactly that. And Paul O'Malley doing their level best, 22 seconds in front of Michael Hickman. And we haven't really talked about Michael Hickman a lot, but just a quiet day. We ran 3rd early on, but now up to 2nd place, has just steadily been the best of the rest, working some traffic here as well. No threat from Bryce McClafferty. Wouldn't matter anyway. Next nearest car in their class that would trouble them is outside the top 5.
It's just a good position to be. I mean, Paul O'Malley came into this race 4th in the championship. I can't say for sure where this is going to put him, other than a very good position.
I think he's going to be in the lead.
Is he? That is a good position to be going forward. A wonderful place to be starting in round 3. Of course, plenty more of this championship to go. We are by no means at the end, and plenty more coming from us on the broadcast. We should be here next week, I do believe, but it won't be your usual squad of me and Jesse Lee, or maybe it will be. I don't know. I'm just being transparent. Like to let you guys know about the up-and-coming stuff. I can say for sure, if you've been paying attention over on the LMU side of things, you're saying, hey, where have those been? Well, good news. Big Grid Sundays are coming back, and I will be broadcasting as much of that season as I can. I believe it starts August 14th or possibly 18th, but keep your eyes on this YouTube channel for that. And while you're keeping your eyes down there, go hit that subscribe button, like the stream, and all that good stuff. Tell us that we're pretty, because I need all I can get at this point.
Do not, that's Jack Mays that wants you to say that to him. I'm Jesse Lee. I just want to make this very clear. I'm Jesse Lee. Do not say that to me.
Why not?
Just,
I think you're pretty.
I'd like to. Oh, thank you, mate. Hey, I would actually like to correct my bad maths. If things finish the way they are right now, Paul O'Malley over Michael Hickman, 1-2. Michael Hickman would be your championship leader by 3 points over Paul O'Malley. So Paul O'Malley would trim the championship lead to 3. Michael Hickman would take the championship lead over Paige Doenbaugh.
There we go. Yeah, Paige not here this week. Has been putting in absolute consistency throughout the race. Won round 1 and has put it on the podium a fair few times. And that's really all you need. You think to win a championship, you got to go win every single race all the time. Not necessarily. Sometimes it just comes down to who can get it across the line regularly in a good position. Because after many, many weeks of racing, it will come down to just that. and we'll see how this championship plays out. It's wonderful to have 3 different classes, 3 different championships to get acquainted with, and a wonderful host of drivers as well. It's been stellar so far. It will continue to be stellar throughout the entirety of this championship. That much I can personally guarantee. And if not, well, it won't happen, so it'll be fine. This will be great. It will continue to be. 4 minutes to go, Jesse, and I mean, I'll keep it frank. Think this circuit's kind of weird, but I'm kind of starting to like it. How are you feeling about Naval Base Coronado at this point?
I've always found this particular racetrack interesting. When it was conceptualized and when they raced here, I finally was able to see the vision. And here in America's Racing League, I didn't quite know what we were going to get. A bunch of drivers racing on it for the first time, 3 different classes. Traffic was always going to be a factor. It had the potential to be a nightmare, but it's been anything but. We've seen some excellent racing, and still the Pro-Am win in doubt here in the dying embers. I think it's been a very fantastic host to what is already an excellent series here on ARL Thursdays. And yeah, I can honestly say I think this is making me a fan. And GT Cars came in tonight saying that I've seen several different type of cars race around here, but I don't have any notebook on GT Cars. And I think today, building that sort of notebook, I think this is fantastic showing.
I think it's absolutely great. It's really, you know, added a pin on this circuit in my mind that maybe if I see it come up again and be, we're in for a good show. For sure, but certainly unique, certainly great. A lot of different aspects. I will say, once you get comfortable, it can be an absolute blast to drive in clear air in a segment where you got 29 other cars and you got to make sure you don't run into them. It's a little more frantic, a little bit scarier, but still a host to be a heck of a lot of fun. Of course, there is still room in this championship if you want to join mid-season. There is an entry fee required, but we'd love to have you. And if tonight's events have been anything to go off of, it sure would be a lot of fun. I can tell you, next week we are headed from Naval Base Coronado to the Circuit of the Americas full-length layout. Speaking of racetracks with divisive racetracks, I feel like CODA's pretty divisive on love and hate. I'm a big fan of it. I think in sports cars it can be absolutely electric. And I'm sure it'll be great next week. Beyond that, we're headed back to Mid-Ohio, and that's going to be a whole lot of blast. The second half of the season going to be just as good as the first, I'm almost certain, and I do believe we've just about concluded all the racing action of the last lap, but no, one final pass for Nathan Branham to get past Devin Strauch. But Paul O'Malley, my friend, has officially started what will be the final lap of the race.
He has. Can't say enough about the driver of the Dadman GT Ford Mustang. Just a brilliant drive, a brilliant driver, and just refuses to lose. And Paul O'Malley putting his name back in the championship hunt. If you weren't with us a moment ago, I did the math. Michael Hickman will be your championship leader by 3 points over Paul O'Malley. And this was a day that both Paul needed, Michael Hickman needed to keep it close, and they have. They're going to take over that lead. Bryce McClafferty in the AM class is going to do nothing but continue their torrid pace. It'll be their 4th consecutive win in the AM classification. Stefano Zanotti is going to close in on the Pro-Am championship lead, if not take the Pro-Am championship lead, if their lead holds over Ted Piper here on the last lap. But back on Paul O'Malley, I just feel like every time he unloads his Mustang, he has an opportunity to win, even if the deck is stacked against him. But today, he made the absolute best out of his opportunity, started up front, never looked back.
Absolutely, and a performance that's become synonymous with Paul O'Malley, reigning champion in this series. And, you know, he just does that. He's able to, when he gets it right, he gets it so unbelievably right. He's winning by miles. One final spin for Cody May and comes across the line to take victory. Does Paul O'Malley, the Qualcomm Circuit, delivered him victory and delivered him back into this championship fight. Michael Hickman getting ready to come across the line as well, a bit further behind, but will take the lead of this championship nonetheless. Great performance, a bit of a quiet race, but that's sometimes what you need to do to get the job done. Michael Hickman takes second place overall, and in the pro category, Paul O'Malley already committing to the donuts. And nothing better after a great race than a good donut. Bryce McClafferty, victory in AM on the podium, taking it 1, 2, 3 for the show. And Bryce McClafferty continues to stretch his lead in the amateur championship. Stefano Zanotti takes fourth, Ted Piper fifth, and Marie Di Pasquale in sixth. The party started, Jesse Lee. It seems that Piotr Shabilski is barely creeping over the line. I'm wondering if maybe that Mustang ran out of fuel towards the end of that race.
Might have done. You can see the smoke over the hill. It's a party on Toway at the corner of Toway and Rogers Road here in San Diego as everybody's smoking it. If you got them, I mentioned earlier, I wondered what tire wear would look like here. My amateur opinion as an engineer, I think the tires were just fine.
Yeah, they got to the end of the race and now, well, frankly, they don't need them. That was a missile coming down the road.
There's a lot of them on the base, but they're not supposed to be on the racetrack.
No, not indeed, but nothing more to say. Actually, it looks like the entire rear of that car's been ripped off, not just the rear bumper.
Well, he doesn't need that anymore either.
No.
He doesn't need the tires. He doesn't need the bumper. All he needs is 2 feet to walk to the top step of the podium again.
Yes, indeed, and it's been an absolute stellar of an event for sure. San Diego came and delivered. Naval Base Coronado is definitely a circuit worthy of a spot on this calendar. Can be a little polarizing, but it delivered us an absolutely incredible event, and the drive was equally incredible from Paul O'Malley to take victory. Michael Hickman joins him on the podium along with Bryce McClafferty to take AM victory over the Pro-Am winner, who was Stefano Zanotti, finishing in fourth. Ted Piper fifth. Dan Marie Di Pasquale finishes sixth. Piotr Shabilski, strategy not playing his way, finishes in seventh. Daniel Kent eighth. Robert Moolman ninth. And Benjamin Gallant, your top 10. David Wiggins 11th. Victor Mendez Polanco in 12th. Craig Searcy 13th. Sam Graff 14th position. Jack Coffey 15th. Javi Sanabria 16th. Branham 17th. Alexander in 18th. Rigo Campos in 19th. Devin Strauch, your 20th place finisher. Eric Jacobs in 21st. Chris Anderson in 22nd. Scott Farrell 23rd. Matt White 24th. Wyatt Johnson sticking it out with a few trips down pit lane, finishes in 25th. Cody May, same deal, stuck it out, crossed the line with Nick Dawson-Lathan, Rodney Ramsey, and Aaron Henschel. Your 3 and only 3 retirements in this race. Special guest, we know him, we love him, we spoke to him many times. Jesse Lee, you're down with Paul O'Malley.
Paul O'Malley, winner again here in the ARL Thursday League. And today at a racetrack nobody had a notebook for. Paul, how did you dominate like that at a track that nobody could have possibly known how to prepare for?
If I knew how to bottle that up and take it everywhere, I would. I had it today. Don't really know what else to say other than that. Rolled off really good. Car felt great. Found the pace early on in the week, and feels good to get back on top.
Well, you certainly do. You've also made it all the way to P2 in the championship, if my math is correct. 3 points behind Michael Hickman, I do believe. That's got to make you happy as well.
Yeah, it's good. It's good. Good to get the second win there. I've kind of dug myself in a hole though with the internet issues. Round one ending P5, and then last week, honestly, last week was just skill issues getting to P6. And with next week being an off week for me, not even going to race there. That's my one drop race that I get. So it's going to be a fight to the end, but I'm looking forward to racing with these guys some more.
What is it about you, Paul? Every time that we do a broadcast, I feel like you are up near the front of the field. What is it about you and that Ford Mustang that's so special here in this GT series?
Again, I'll say it. I wish I could bottle it up and take it everywhere. Don't have it at every track. There's just sometimes that it really jives well with me. I don't know. 2 years ago, the Mustang was the car I wanted to drive, and I couldn't keep it pointed straight. So whatever changed between then and now is working out great. But yeah, it just works.
And final thoughts about Naval Base Coronado after racing on it now.
Oh, it is a tough and punishing track. You don't really have any margin for error. You make a little slip up, and it's really going to punish you for it. On top of it being really physical and a long lap, it wears you out after a while. But I don't know. There's something about street circuits that's so pure. There's no runoff. It's you and the walls, and you got to know exactly where you want to put the car. I don't know. I love it here.
Well, Paul, congratulations on win number 2 on the season. And before we let you go, anyone you would like to shout out?
Oh, of course. I got to shout out the two biggest fans I've got, Budge and Dottie. They watched, came down, cheered me on, and celebrated with me. My son, I don't know if you saw, I did a little extra long burnouts. My son wanted to sit in my lap and do burnouts with me, so he and I did a little celebration together. That was special.
That is very special indeed. Paul, go enjoy it.
Thank you, guys. Have a good night.
Paul O'Malley, second win on the season, celebrating with family. Racing, of course, is a family sport after all. Jack Mays is down with Zanotti.
Stefano Zanotti, you had to work for it. You were under pressure for majority of that race. I heard coming in whispers that you were quick, and quick you were indeed. Well executed. Have you recovered? Have you taken a breath after that incredibly physical drive?
I mean, I have a certain age, so I'm doing my best with the beer right now to recover.
Nothing like quenching your thirst after a race. And you were under pressure from someone outside your class, a pretty mega driver. Anne Marie was on your tail for a while. You maybe thought you had to you caught your breath a little bit, and then Ted joined you right on your 6. I mean, how was it fending off? Overtaking seems to be difficult at Naval Base Coronado, but you can't leave yourself vulnerable. I mean, lap after lap after lap, how do you maintain your focus? How do you sort of put out of mind the car that's right behind you?
Well, so at the start, I had the outside on Emery. I didn't really want to. I didn't care about racing her, but Ted was right there. And then I didn't really try to keep her behind. And she wasn't really putting much pressure. I think she was just like, whatever. But then when Ted at the end was coming in, he started flashing. He was lounging. I just started looking ahead and stopped looking behind. And I had Bryce maybe a second ahead. So I was just looking at him, using him as a, how do you say, a rabbit? I don't know. Somebody who leads the way ahead of you. I don't know the word in English.
I think you're thinking of a carrot.
Setter, I guess. Carrot, yeah, the carrot. Yeah, that's what it is. Yeah, and then guys, come on. No, I didn't have a practice run without hitting the wall, so I was happy I managed not to do that despite the pressure. And I mean, I love the track for hot lapping, but as you said, very hard to pass. At the end of the day, the race is I think it's a bit boring to watch, but it wasn't boring being there, that's for sure.
Yeah, well, it certainly wasn't boring watching you by any means. No, it was an absolutely great thing. And no, I think now that you say it, having Bryce ahead of you, it did end up being the perfect thing. You had the carrot to chase, you had the stick behind you in case you messed it up. I mean, it's better to have that than to be alone.
And a bit of draft. I feel like the Ferrari is not as fast as the Ford, so I think that helped as well. And I mean, I wanted to get Bryce because I wanted top 3 overall, but it is what it is.
It is what it is, indeed. I mean, it's still maximum championship points you can get on a day. Few things better than that, and congratulations on that for sure. Before you go, Sana, anybody you want to shout out?
Oh, just my family at home who doesn't watch me, but I still want to shout out to them. And actually, you guys for the broadcast is really cool, and everybody else who races with me. I mean, I'm not trying to be. I really mean it. Like it's fun, and it's everybody's pretty good. So it's just a nice Thursday night overall in general.
I second that. I thank you. I thank all the drivers. Give us a wonderful show every week, and especially you. Congratulations, another win in class.
No, I think that's my first.
You're correct. That is your first win. Actually, I think this might be this might be your first time in the booth with us. I think maybe.
Yeah, it's the first time. Yeah.
Well, welcome in.
It's the
We're
first
happy to
win in
have
the
you.
league. Oh, thank you. Well, I'll try to make it more often.
Well, listen, we'll keep the chair warm for you, but yeah, no price of admission, winning class. So hopefully we'll see you again soon. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thank you guys. Have a good night.
Well, Jesse, that was a whole heck of a lot of fun. Naval Base Coronado is I think it's a great circuit. If it can deliver us any circuit that can deliver a race like that, action, things to talk about, wonderful bits of military manufacturing to look at. I mean, what more do you possibly need on a Thursday night?
No, I couldn't agree more, partner. I mean, the race pretty much had everything you would expect. We were 3 wide at one point. Nice battles that came down to the very end of the race, differing pit strategy. And I mean, it was as advertised. Very little attrition in this race, kept it very close. There were battles down to the very last lap for meaningful positions. What more could you ask for?
I got nothing. I'm just excited to keep going with this championship. This is officially our halfway point. Next week, we're off to Circuit of the Americas. As I said, there will be a broadcast by somebody. Whether I'm here, whether Jesse's here, they will give you a wonderful time, and it will be a whole host of fun as it's been week after week. But I want to thank specifically all of you watching for joining us, spending some time on a Thursday night with us, enjoying the sights, enjoying the sounds, enjoying our constant bleeding on about race cars and tires and all that stuff. But no, we love what we do, and we're glad that we get to share it with all of you. Head over to americasracingleague.com if you want to get involved with anything we have here. A whole host of events pretty much every day of the week. If iRacing isn't your jam, ACC is available, Le Mans Ultimate is available, AMS2 as well from time to time. And make sure, check out the 6 hours of Road America that will be running fairly soon in a couple weeks' time. August 22nd. It's sure to be an absolute blast. Thank you one final time for joining us tonight. Thank you one final time to all of our wonderful drivers. Thank you to all of our wonderful partners and sponsors. Thank you to my co-host, Jesse Lee. I've been Jack Mays, and from America's Racing League, we look forward to seeing you next time. Have a wonderful night.